Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, I will present our paper in the CITSM 2020. Our paper title is The Effectiveness of Using Edmodo-Based E-Learning in the Blended Learning Process to Increase Student Motivation and Learning Outcomes. In our abstract, previous study on the teacher effort increasing motivation and learning outcomes still saw less than optimal results. The study aimed to examine whether or not the use of Edmodo-based learning is effective. By contextualizing and integrating the learning process of Islamic education using internet technology in the blended learning process. A mixture of qualitative and quantitative method is used to analyze the extent to which teachers and students think about this learning system. Researchers practice the use of the Edmodo learning in the blended learning process at State Vocational High School or SMKN in Jakarta. The results show that the use of Edmodo-based e-learning in the blended learning process has not been widely used by teachers of Islamic religious education at public vocational high school in Jakarta. The result also show that Edmodo-based e-learning in the blended learning process succeeds in facilitating student participation in online discussion and assessment, and could increase student interest of motivation improving their learning outcome. Introduction. Our introduction is research of e-learning and face-to-face learning to support teacher professional studies and teaching has been done by many researchers. However, from these studies, not many studies discuss blended learning using Edmodo-based e-learning. In this study, the learning system was carried using a blended learning system using Edmodo learning and its online learning. Students have new learning experiences in an online-based environment. In responding to this technology development on the ground that in the learning process, students will still need to meet directly with their teacher. Not everyone, including teachers, respond well. Literature review. Formal education program to student the learning draws introduction delivered online by study times, place, sequence, and learning objectives, and so draws face-to-face lessons with predetermined during blended learning. By MC Perez Lopez and Rodriguez, as I said, 2011. Use tool, this blending learning tool, one is a segment, 2 file links, 3 quiz, 4 pooling. In the Edmodo 5 tool is gradebook, 6 is library, 7 is groups, 8 is join the group, 9 is group class, 10 profile, 11 parent codes, 12 setting, and 13 notification. For research methods, the research method is using Edmodo in the blending process use a combination approach, both qualitative and quantitative. Simple correlation test between variables x1, x2, and y is used in quantitative methods. Whereas in the qualitative methods that was carried out on the respondent, it was done by means of interviews and participatory observation. Participant, this research was conducted in the Islamic education in Jakarta to respond about learning with model learning based blended learning, then to find out and analyze the effectiveness of blended learning using Edmodo-based e-learning. It was conducted at 152 students at State Vocational High School in Jakarta. The research method in the study consisted of several steps. One is preparation, two is application, and three is data collection and analysis. 5. Result and discussion. The respondents' perception and opinion at Edmodo-based blended learning and where from the analysis of result of integrated in questionnaire was the result and questionnaire result, the number of from 63 respondents or 70 of respondents suggests that the learning process is still better done face-to-face rather than online, because students become more interactive with their teachers in class. Meanwhile, as many as 19 respondents or 30% suggested that learning should not only be done face-to-face, learning should also be done online. Because with a mixed learning system that is combined face-to-face and online, students can repeat their learning anytime and anywhere according to their wishes, so they can learn more flexibility. The result of research in the blended learning process using Edmodo-based learning conducted by researchers indicate that there is an influence between the three variables. From the statistical calculation and ANOVA step, the results are as follows. Hypothesis testing is the study using simple correlation technique for the first, second hypothesis, the third hypothesis using multiple regression techniques. The result of hypothesis testing in the study is as follows. This study, the hypothesis is to see whether there is a correlation between Edmodo learning motivation and learning outcome of Islamic education in public vocational high school in Jakarta. On this assumption, the hypothesis is X0 is rho is 0.05. XA is rho more than 0.05. XO, there is no positive relationship between Edmodo learning motivation, and learning outcome of Islamic education of vocational high school in Jakarta. XA is there is a positive relationship between Edmodo learning motivation and learning outcome of Islamic education in public vocational high school in Jakarta. Based on table 1, it can be analyzed that 1. Edmodo e-learning with student learning motivation X1, X2, values of 0.57x, which indicate a correlation between these two variables. 2. Edmodo learning with Islamic education learning outcome X1 and Y has an R value of 0.607, which indicates a correlation between the two variables. 3. Motivation to learn with learning outcome Islamic education X2, Y has an R value of 0.739, which indicates a correlation between these two variables. From the statistical test of the correlation between learning motivation, and learning outcome of Islamic education above, it can be concluded X0 is rejected, and after XA, with a hypothetical conclusion, there is a positive relationship between learning and Edmodo, learning motivation and learning outcome of Islamic education in school state vocational intermediate in Jakarta. Conclusion. Based on the finding of the student, it can be concluded, one, development of information and communication technology or ICT increased the skills in the field of Islamic religious education to be able to innovate learning by embracing a competency-oriented approach to using ICT. And then two, Edmodo is one of the innovation in learning that can be applied in Islamic religious education learning in the blended learning process to increase student motivation and learning outcome. Therefore, this learning method not only provides solutions but also to improve student achievement and the methodology of the teaching and learning process to achieve success in the student learning that Islamic religious education their teachers can do in the future. The finding of the study provide evidence of the effectiveness of using Edmodo in the blended learning process to increase student motivation, draw participation in online discussion and achievement, so as to improve their learning achievement. Reference 1 are Leslie et al. 2 is L. Chi Chuan, 3 is Bison of et al. 4 Tarhemi et al. 5 Cronjes et al. 6 is Lopez Perez et al. 7 Jerbesin et al. 8 Jurax, 9 Odesene, 10 Docker, 11 Nasrullah, and 12 Al-Kakhiri. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.